Okay, today we're going to talk about the Globe Theater. Shakespeare essentially needed a place to have his plays performed, and so what he did is he took an old barn and he turned it into a theater, which was very exciting, in 1599. Unfortunately, the Globe burned down in 1613. But they rebuilt it in 1614. The Globe Theater burned down again. By this time, it was intentional by the Puritans. They believed that the theater was evil and, represented the devil. But they rebuilt the Globe again until the London fire showed up and burned the theater to the ground in 1666. In the 1990s, the Globe was finally reconstructed, and it was meant to be as close to accurate as possible. And you can actually still go and see Shakespeare plays performed there today. Now, we are going to break down the different components of the Globe Theater. Firstly, at the top, there was always a flag, and the flag would inform the public that a play would be showing, and the different colors of the flags would represent what type of play it was. So if a red flag was flying, it would be a history play. A black flag represented a tragedy, and then a white flag represented a comedy. So depending on the color of the flag, you knew what kind of performance was going to be on that night. At the top of the stage, there was an area called the hut, and that is where different machinery would be in order to lower actors onto stage, maybe if they were meant to be flying. Underneath the hut is an area called the heavens, which is appropriately named because that is where actors who were supposed to fly. Shakespeare has a lot of plays with witches, with fairies, with different magical creatures who need to be able to fly across the stage. And so the heavens is where those actors would be. Behind the stage, there were the dressing rooms. This is where obviously actors would change, where costumes were stored, props were stored, and where actors would wait to come out. Today, if you go to see a play, you will notice that the orchestra or the music is underneath the stage, but that wasn't possible, and I'll tell you why soon, back in the day. So instead, the orchestra would be behind the stage, and they would be kind of elevated, so they would be above and behind the actors. The stage would also have stage doors, which are pretty self-explanatory. They're used for going in and out of to get actors on and off stage. Additionally, there would be a curtain, so not only were there formal doors, but there were also curtains off to the side, so if an actor needed to make a quick change or grab a prop really fast, that would be more convenient than going through the doors. And then there's the stage itself, where the actors perform. The Globe is unique in that it's a totally circular theater, so there really isn't a bad seat in the entire theater. And the stage is obviously the focal point, and everyone can see. Underneath the stage was an area called Hell, which is where actors would wait to come on through a trapdoor, or where they would fall through a trapdoor. Again, Shakespeare plays had a lot of magical or fantastical creatures, and so if they needed to disappear quickly, that would be an easy way to do so. In terms of the audience, the upper gallery is where the nobles, people with money, kings and queens, that is where they would sit. Today, if you go to the theater, you're going to wind up paying. The most expensive seats are not going to be the ones that are up high. Instead, they're going to be the ones that are closest to the stage in kind of that orchestra area. But there's a very good reason why the upper gallery was so high, and we will talk about that in a second. The middle gallery was middle to upper class, so shop owners, people who owned large estates, merchants, people who were comfortable, but not quite like royal level. And then at the bottom, these were people who were more common. Farmers, blacksmiths, bakers, maybe they were splurging and like they wanted to sit for the performance, that was the lower gallery. The reason that the nobles and people with money were up so high is because of the yard. The yard is basically general admission, so it's where poor people would stand for the entire show. These were the kind of people who were rowdy, they would heckle, they didn't shower regularly, so they didn't smell great. They were usually pretty drunk. There was a lot of pickpocketing going on. They probably carried some little critters like fleas or, I don't know, whatever, lice in with them. So if you were wealthy and noble, you wanted to be as far away from that riffraff as possible, which is why the upper seats were so much more preferable, because then you are away from the smell, you're away from the rowdiness, and you still have a clear view of the stage. And that's it.